What do you like most about our industry?
Oh, the people.
What do you dislike most about our industry?
We sometimes move not fast enough.
What's your superpower?
That is a difficult one to answer. The key asset that our industry has is the consumer relationship. Convenience retail in every part of the world expanded into something else. If you have an Audi, you need to go to an Audi dealer. If you have a BMW, you need to go to a BMW dealer. That was the first downfall, basically, a category being pulled away from our industry. Oh, that looks very interesting. I would assume it's somewhere in the Nordics. I don't know why I say that.
Welcome to the next episode of R.O.O.F podcast, and my guest today is Mark Wohltmann, truly a rock star of our industry, a man who wears colorful socks. That's one thing. Great speaker, one of the best speaker in the industry. You also live in Cotswolds, from what I know, right?
I do. Thank you very much for having me today.
So today we'll talk a lot about the global context of petroleum retail, global context of convenience retail, because we see a lot of interesting dynamics and different regions approach the new technologies and new evolving solutions in our industry in a different way with a different pace. There's a lot of legal aspects. There are a lot of consumer aspects. So all of that thing, I'm really eager to discuss with you today.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good.
So we'll start the first game, question answer in 24 seconds. EV or hydrogen?
Neither.
Manned or unmanned?
Both.
What do you like most about our industry?
Oh, the people.
What do you dislike most about our industry?
We sometimes move not fast enough.
What's your superpower?
That is a difficult one to answer.
Main goal of NACS in 2024?
Definitely bringing our industry closer together.
Bayern Munich or Arsenal?
Don't know anything about sports.
33 seconds. Not bad, not bad. So you're not into sports?
No, not at all.
Not at all. What do you like to do outside of the working context?
Well, first, I love the work. So I have the privilege that I love the work that I do. Mm-hmm. So work is not just work for me. It is much more. And when you enjoy what you're doing, you don't count the hours. So I know that is not the case for everyone, but I'm very lucky to have that. Now, besides that, I'm very much interested in architecture. I said I'm not into sports, but I actually do a lot of sports. I'm going to the gym regularly, but that's about it.
Cool. You were living in Munich, right? So that's why I thought maybe I'll make this connection and put you under pressure. You're like, I don't like sports. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'm probably the only German who does not like soccer or has no interest in it.
Yeah. I'm following you on LinkedIn, and your profile is great. I learned a lot from your travel. So how much time do you spend traveling on average?
Oh, nearly all the time. I think I travel about 70-80% of my work time. Mm-hmm. And the rest is split between, sometimes being in the office in Washington, and the rest is my home office.
Nice. So I think the other day, during one of your presentations, you have mentioned a really, really weird, let's say, petrol station, and some of like a couple, they had a wedding on petrol station.
Yes.
So what is the maybe top 3 weirdest petrol stations and convenience retail locations you've seen across the globe?
I think there are a lot of petrol stations out there that have been converted into something else. They don't sell petrol anymore, but they still have the iconic building and the iconic forecourt structure and everything. But they have been converted into something else. And I think that is probably where you find the weirdest usages
Yeah.
of our sites. I love the burger place in Copenhagen. I just came from Copenhagen yesterday, and they have a really really nice burger offer in a former petrol station. There are for some reason a lot of barber shops in old petrol stations. I don't know if that is a thing for our industry for the future, but it seems to be like that. Other than that, I think weird, while it still is a petrol station, is how the operators engage with the community and what they do with it. So probably the weirdest thing with that, what I've seen is a party on the roof of a petrol station. So there was a local operator, he was celebrating the community and he was inviting everyone to the forecourt. They had a big party and they had the DJ and everything on the roof.
So in this context, this particular petrol station played a role of the social hub where people meet and talk to each other, and
where they meet, but also very engaged in the community, right? Not just we're there and we sell fuel, but really, hey, we are part of this neighborhood, right? We support each other, we look out for each other, and that is what we see a lot with our industry. And how they engage is then very different.
Yeah, this is interesting. So we are talking about the diversification of the services and value distribution within the petroleum retail context. From the dynamic perspective, do you see that changing last 5 years, or what's the dynamic behind, or was there some signs, early signs, maybe 10, 20 years ago, when in some regions maybe they were trying to experiment with new concepts already there, like 2000s, maybe even 90s?
Maybe even 90s, maybe even slightly before that. I think the first biggest change, if you look at petrol stations, we only have petrol stations because you can't sell petrol and diesel in bottles off the supermarket shelf, right? You need underground storage. You need all of that. That's why we have a petrol station. And the natural thing that happened was that they all had a garage to service cars, and that was the main income. Selling fuel and maintaining cars. And then probably late 80s, early 90s, more and more cars were so specialized that you can't just service them anywhere. If you have an Audi, you need to go to an Audi dealer. If you have a BMW, you need to go to a BMW dealer. So you need to be very specialized. And that was the first downfall, basically, a category being pulled away from our industry, and they had to replace it. And that happened in the early 1990s when they added convenience stores on a massive scale. And that was the answer. Okay, no car repair. Let's sell confectionery and drinks and all of that. And I guess we have the same situation right now, which started probably 20 years ago already, move into food service. Because we know there are categories, again, that are being taken away. Less newspaper sales and magazine sales. Tobacco is declining in a lot of countries. More regulation probably on alcohol, on sugary things. So we need to replace that. And food service, coffee sales is the natural thing to come in. And now the big question mark is, what's next?
Yeah.
What is beyond that?
And this is interesting because one of my previous guests, we're talking about various value-added services and what can be the next big thing, right?
Yeah.
And there were so many options, but we ended up, so my guest, so he ended up with saying that QSR probably will be the short to mid-term, a big thing to be evaluated from the potential perspective by convenience retailers. So as he said, the stomach will win over everything else. So do you agree with that assumption, or you think something else can pop up? For example, I don't know, co-working spaces, mobility hubs, or something else?
So mobility hub is a different topic, but let's think about the consumer. More and more things in our daily life are moving online, right? You can work more online, you can work from home, you can order anything online. I mean, no one visits a physical place to book some travel or something anymore, right? You do that online. So more and more is online. You don't have to leave the house, right? In the past, you had to leave the house for certain things. Now you don't have to. So why would someone still leave the house and go somewhere else? And the answer is socializing. We are social animals. We want to meet face to
Yeah.
face. We want to interact with each other. We want to be amongst people. And that is the only reason really that gets you out of the house. And very much connected to that in most cultures around the world is food. It's sharing a meal with each other, is drinking some kind of caffeinated beverage wherever that is. And that is what gets you out.
That goes so deep into human nature, into who we are. So it's hard to change, and you don't see any dramatic changes.
And if you leave the house, you want to eat, you want to meet people, you want to socialize, you want to be entertained. And the question then is, where are you going to do that?
Yeah, but I think that's fair for, and I think we can need to like draw a segmentation, a little bit of a segmentation here, because a portion of those convenience retail locations are within the city, maybe somewhere in the city center, close to people. So there are a lot of people living in this neighborhood. So this can work. If we talk about the highway station, that's a completely different context, right? So
Absolutely.
will they remain, or will they grow into something else? How do you see them evolving, where the social impact of this, let's say, social networking is not probably not so big as for the ones in the city centers?
So let me agree and disagree, and start with the disagree part. Looking at Ireland, where you have motorway stations, where you have large sit-in restaurants, children's play areas, co-working spaces, and so on. These are motorway stations where families from the surrounding villages and cities pack up their family on the weekend into the car and drive to the motorway as a destination to spend time there, because you have food, you have children's entertainment, you have a lot of parking, it's easy to get to. So these have become destinations on the motorway. So there is also for those locations the opportunity to become a destination and work around this social hub. But you're absolutely right. I mean, talking about mobility hub, talking about people that are on the move, they want something to eat, they want something to drink, they need to stop to rest. And these will always be places that we need for them, right? Be it on the motorway, be it on large streets and roads through the city. It will be something for people on the move.
If we think about the worlds like as the heat map,
Yeah.
okay, where are the red spots of evolving, let's say, growth of convenience retail? And I would like to get your perspective from both things. So the first one is kind of mature markets.
Yeah.
The biggest ones where the convenience retail is a pretty mature industry. So what kind of trends do you see there versus the, let's say, laggards, whatever you call them, but where you see a lot of positive dynamics? From my point of view, and what I've learned also from various digital maturity indexes, public information, something is happening in Estonia. Because if you take a look on the dynamic side of adopting digital technologies, governmental subsidies for IT infrastructure and stuff like that. So this is where things are moving into the really, really interesting direction. So from the global perspective, what are those spots on the heat map?
It was during the pandemic when we had a call with different because everything went online. We had a call with different retailers from the world, and I think it was Victor Paterno from 7-Eleven Philippines who talked about a concept, convenience plus. And it is something that happened during COVID, that convenience retail in every part of the world expanded into something else. It's because of COVID, because of everything that happened, all the restrictions and so on. So in markets where convenience retail was just a top-up shop, it expanded into becoming a regular shop as a destination, where you had mainly food and beverage and to-go items. They expanded into the center store items and really selling very different kinds of merchandise. Where you had convenience stores without any food service, they were adding food service. Where you had convenience stores with food service,
Added more.
they added more, right? And they were really expanding. So it really grew everywhere in the world. And looking at red spots, that was just red everywhere, the entire planet. Now, if you think about a development curve, like how well advanced is convenience retail where, we do imply with that every convenience retail around the world will follow more or less the same path. And that is probably true from we only sell FMCG to we add coffee, we add a classic triangle sandwich, we add a little bit more food service, we expand food service, we have sit-in gastronomy and so on.
Then some healthy options, sustainable.
Exactly. So if that is the path, then of course, Western Europe is very well advanced in that sense. The United States has experimented with a lot and is well advanced in that sense. But it doesn't mean that these places are alone. You see highly advanced convenience retail and fuel retail everywhere around the world. I mean, YPF in Argentina opened I don't know how many millions they spend on their flagship petrol site with co-working space. With lockers and showers because there's a running trail right next to it, with everything. It is one of the most advanced petrol stations that you can find. If you go to China, it is amazing some of the sites, what they are developing. The US is investing heavily in dual lane pickup, so mobile order and pickup lanes, right? Be it Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or whoever.
Curbside pickup.
Yes, and it's and drive-through, right? Right next to it. So I think there's a lot of development really around the world, and people ask me that a lot in terms of hotspot. Hey, we want to take 5 people from our office and we want to go to one place and learn everything about convenience retail. Where should we go? It's impossible to answer. My answer always is, it depends on what you want to learn. If you want to learn about food service, execution in convenience retail, go to Dublin. It is the best city in the world for it. It's amazing what they have done. If you want to learn about operational excellence, it's Asia, right? Go to Seoul, go to Tokyo, and have a look behind the scenes, because how they run their operations, that is just amazing. Just to watch how smooth everything works. Now, if you want to look for innovation, so you're looking for something different, particularly not different in it has been scaled and rolled out across 2,000 stores, but really find those entrepreneurs that maybe have 1 to 5 to 10 stores and they are doing something very different.
Yeah.
Go to emerging markets and look for those entrepreneurs that are really doing something very, very different. And just something in between here. In December, I went to Kuwait, and Kuwait didn't have convenience retail, period. Just didn't exist. And then there was someone who thought 10 years ago, convenience retail in other countries, that's interesting. Maybe I bring that to Kuwait. And he started a company, Trolley. And they now have a couple of hundred stores, and they are really big there. They are like the 7-Eleven of Kuwait, right? They are on every corner. You see them everywhere. Great branding. And they have some of the most modern convenience stores doing exactly everything right, with where's the coffee placed, where do you play coffee versus merchandise, different types of locations in malls or roadside. It's awesome. And you can find these just in any country.
Yeah. There's a famous quote from Tolstoy, I think. All families are alike when it comes to happiness. So all happy families are alike, but all unhappy families are unhappy in a different ways. So do you disagree that this can be applied to petroleum retail? So What defines success from the convenience or petroleum retailer's perspective? Is there any kind of a DNA that you see in common across the globe for every successful convenience retailer?
Definitely. So I think the key asset that our industry has is the consumer relationship. We are close to our customer. We, in many cases, not from the corporate office, but I'm talking about people in store, know their customers. We have a lot of regular customers. We know them by name. We know they have a dog. We know they are married and have
Yeah.
children or not. We know what they do for work.
You know how many sneaker bars they buy per week and
Exactly.
coffees and stuff like that.
We have that relationship. And more importantly, they have a relationship with us. It's not just transactional. They don't just come to buy a chocolate bar, but they come because they know whatever they find in our stores is curated for them. It will be good. It will be exactly what they need. They can trust us. And the times are not easy in general. And trust is a big issue in our societies these days. Not just because of social media and
Yeah.
all of that and fake news. We see that consumers dislike more and more the anonymous big store, but they really embrace the small store run by a person that they can trust. And that is our biggest asset that we have. And to your question about what are the success factors, you have to play that. You have to really make sure that you are bang on your relationship with your customer. If you try to be distant, if you try to just be anonymous, that doesn't work.
All right, so our next game, I've got a blitz quiz for you. So we've found 5 pretty weird, strange looking convenience store locations across the
Okay.
globe. And we'll show you those pictures, and you will need to guess what is the country and maybe give a little bit of your context or your experience from that country on have you seen anything like that in those particular countries.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
I'm really excited. It's going to be fun.
All right.
So let's start from the first one.
Okay. Oh, that looks very interesting. I would assume it's somewhere in the Nordics. I don't know why I say that, but I have not seen that before. But it somehow feels like if you think about Scandinavia, if you think about the hygge feeling, right? Things like that. So they play a lot with coziness. They play a lot with this concept, and I think they play very well with it. And the first impression that I had was this is kind of cozy.
Yeah. Surprisingly, this is US.
Oh, it is US. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. You haven't seen anything like that?
No,
in US?
I haven't seen that. But you have to tell me where it is. I need to go there.
We'll drop the location in the comment. But
Great.
I would never guess, because if I think about the US, there should be a big parking space, right? There should be a huge store. But coming back to your point about those cozy small places where people can gather, I think this kind of directionally points at this.
And that is a very, very good comment about the US. I mean, people have a perception about the US, the one US, and everything has to be like that. Now, it is such a vast country with so many differences from east to west, from coast to inland, that you can find anything there. And there is no just one concept that works everywhere, that works for everyone. You will see convenience retail in the US being very different from small towns to big cities, from coastal areas to somewhere in the desert. And there are big chains, of course, and there is some standardization. And the US is very good in certain things, like how to treat a customer, how to really have customer service. I think they are leading in the world on that. But in terms of retail design, you can find just anything.
Okay, let's go for the next one.
All right, next one.
Yes.
Oh, that is interesting. That is really cool architecture. I love good forecourts. I have no idea where that is. I would think it is somewhere in Asia, really. But I might be way off with that.
Yeah, this is Spain.
Oh, it's Spain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is something that I would never think about Spanish market.
No, you're right. The Spanish market is very driven by a certain type of architecture
Yep.
and a certain type of execution, a very good execution, actually, by the way. But it is not as experimental, I would say,
Correct.
as
Yeah.
in other parts of the world, which is why I thought, okay, this might be Asia, because across Asia, you to our earlier point about Europe, is very diverse. Asia is very diverse, and you find a lot of experimental architecture over there.
Next one.
Next one, okay. Ooh, I would say Indonesia.
Close. This is Thailand.
Yeah,
This
Thailand.
is a
Okay.
picture done by one of our employees when he was visiting Thailand, and
Yeah.
you like mentioned in the first part of the show that you cannot sell fuel in bottles.
Yes.
Here you go.
And that is exactly, I have a picture similar to that. And that is from Indonesia, which is why I mentioned that. So they were using old Absolute vodka bottles to put petrol and diesel in and sell that on the roadside. Pretty similar to this picture here. And I have that in my presentation. And when I tell people, well, you can't sell that on the roadside, I put that picture up and say, okay, you can, but you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
Next.
Next one. That is a nice one. Where is that?
Futuristic, right?
Very
Like a
futuristic.
flight.
Well, it is futuristic. At the same time, this type of tulip shaped design has been around in the 1950s as well. So it's not just futuristic; it's also a note to the past.
I trust you because you said you're into architecture, so
Yeah.
probably that's a
But where it is, this could be in the Nordics again, in Scandinavia. It could also be in the US because they experimented with this design in the 1950s. Scandinavia because of the architectural design.
yeah, it's Slovakia. I mean,
Right.
again,
That's a good off again.
hard to guess. Come on, this is just it's hard to guess, right?
Yeah.
So it's also not the thing you think about Central or Eastern Europe context, right? So
What I love about this is the uniqueness of the design. It stands out. It's really nice. There are a couple of really unique designs for petrol stations out there, be it in the UAE or they really do things different. Where I put a question mark on is we have the debate quite often. If you want to separate fuel and store, how do you achieve that? And some people think that and argue very well that if you connect the roof to the store, then it's not separated anymore. I would always argue, think about the customer. If it rains a lot or if there's a lot of sunshine or whatever, you might want to have a connected roof, right? Because I don't want to walk through the rain
comfortable,
to get to the store, right? But if you don't have to deal with that, depending on the country where you are, this might be a good idea actually to separate these two from each other. So I wouldn't recommend it in England. It rains too much, but maybe in some sunnier spaces, this might work.
yeah. And final one.
Final one.
Yes,
Okay.
the one I took a few years ago.
Oh,
And
dog wash service.
yeah, this is the dog wash service. I was surprised.
I love dog wash. I think it's I don't have a dog, but I love the idea of that dog wash. I have seen that in so many places right now. First one actually that I saw was a dealer site in the Netherlands some years ago. That was the first time ever that I saw a dog wash at a petrol station, and I found it a brilliant idea. But I see that they are popping up everywhere around the world in different shapes and formats. So some are like smaller, like this one. It's open. You can just put your dog in, and that's it. So I would assume that is a country where it is maybe warmer because everything is open. Because in some colder countries, you actually have a small building-like structure. It looks more like a container. At least you can walk in, close the door, and then you can wash your dog in there and then get out again. So yeah, no idea where this is. It could be anywhere.
Serbia also.
Oh, that's Serbia.
kind of
Okay, yeah. Well, they might have it might be a good idea for them to have a roof. On top of that.
So great.
So 0 out of 5.
0 out of 5. Can it get worse? But still, I don't think there's any person in the world who will be able to do that. So it's totally fine. At least we've learned a lot.
We learned a lot, and I think it's a good example for our industry globally, because to our earlier point, it is developing everywhere and it is developing very fast. So it's good times for convenience and fuel retail, really, not from the fuel side, but from a convenience retail side. And there are so many dynamics going on, so much development going on. No matter where you are in the world, you will find something that is just blowing your mind.
Yeah. NACS is pretty big organization in terms of coverage, right? But I don't think there are a lot of employees, right? So how big is the real manpower behind NACS?
Well, we are relatively big. If you think about us, we are a not-for-profit organization. We are a trade association. We're based in or close by Washington, D.C., and we represent in the U.S. the convenience and fuel retailing industry. For a trade association, we are quite big because we have 70 employees. And with that, I think for our industry, we are the largest organization anywhere in the world. A lot of my colleagues in the US are engaged in government relations, but we basically serve the industry in the US on anything that is needed. And our main goal really is to advance convenience and fuel retailing, helping the industry, which is why, besides government relations, we organize events. We have a big trade show in the US, the NACS show, 25,000 visitors every year. It's the world's biggest convenience retail and fuel retail event. And we try to help our industry with education programs, with research, with anything that advances it. And one of the initiatives that we have is NACS Global. So NACS Global, that's me, but not just me.
It's a one-man show.
No, it's not really a one-man show, because there are a lot of people involved actually from inside and outside of NACS. We realized about 20 years ago, our CEO, Henry Armour, he saw that most associations really focus on their country and only go for that. And he realized, wait a moment, all the issues that we have in the US, it's the same issues anywhere in the world, be it regulations for some categories, be it new products, be it new technology, be it younger consumers. It's the same issues everywhere, but on the development curve, it is just differently developed in every country in the world. So he reached out and he talked to retailers around the world and said, hey, how are you doing on that? Right? He found that tobacco regulation big in Australia already 15 years ago. We wanted to learn from that. So we built a network around the world.
Really excited to look forward to what will happen this year and in the future. So Mark, that was exciting. I mean, great insights. Exactly what I thought we'll talk about. So thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for being here, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much for having me.